Bonjour à tous. Si vous regardez cette vidéo, c'est que malheureusement vous n'avez pas pu assister au premier cours où nous aurions dû vous présenter l'activité que vous allez faire à partir de la semaine prochaine qui s'appelle Psychology in Films. Donc c'est l'activité que vous allez faire lors de la première demi-heure si vous faites partie du sous-groupe A, soit la dernière demi-heure si vous faites partie du sous-groupe B. Je vais laisser à chacun des enseignants le soin de vous indiquer dans quel sous-groupe vous vous trouvez. Dans votre brochure, page 5, vous avez, page 5 et 6, vous avez une fiche qui vous permettra d'avoir les différents points que l'on attend dans votre présentation. Naturellement, comme vous n'avez pas pu avoir accès aux fiches papier que nous aurions dû vous distribuer, vous allez recopier celle-ci sur papier libre. Interdiction naturellement d'avoir des notes sur téléphone portable pour la semaine prochaine, comme vous le savez. Vous allez devoir également remplir les champs avec des mots-clés. Absolument aucune phrase rédigée avec tous les mots de la phrase. Okay. Ce sera juste un pense-bête qui vous permettra de vous exprimer à partir des mots-clés. Si vous avez des difficultés en anglais, le conseil que je vous donnerais, c'est simplifier un petit peu votre présentation. Faites des phrases simples, sujet, verbe, complément, avec des phrases que vous reliez par and et but, notamment au début. Vous complexifierez au fur et à mesure du semestre et de l'année. Page 5, dans votre brochure, vous allez trouver tout un tas d'amorces, de phrases et de conseils qui vous permettront de construire votre présentation et de présenter les différents mots-clés que vous aurez dans votre présentation. Je vais donc vous faire une présentation d'un film que vous avez étudié en première année l'année dernière et vous montrer comment prendre vos notes et surtout comment faire votre présentation. Gardez en tête que votre présentation orale ne devra pas excéder les 5 minutes. Là, moi, je vais prendre un petit peu plus de temps de manière à vous montrer et vous donner un exemple. So, the film that I have chosen to present is Experimenter. That is an American film directed by Michael Amerada that was released at the Sundance Festival in 2015. Peter Sarsgaard plays Stanley Milgram, who was a social psychologist at a university professor, and his wife, Winona Ryder, who plays Alexandra, also known as Sasha Milgram. So the film Experimenter is a biopic, which means that it is a true story, and it tells the story of Milgram's life and work. And especially it revolves around the 1961 behavior experiment about obedience that took place at Yale University. And the goal of this experiment was to study willingness to obey authority figure. The first half of the film focuses on Stanley Milgram's work, the conditions of the experiment, and how the subjects reacted. And also about Stanley Milgram's life, how he met his wife Alexandra and how they started to date. The second half of the film shows the struggling against the public outcry about the ethics of the experiment. We are also presented the career advances of Milgram, who became a professor in New York University. We are also presented his other experiences until he died of a heart attack at the age of 51 years old. So we are presented the small world experiment, the lost letter experiment, the street corner experiment, and the familiar stranger experiment. So the concept of psychology that is at the heart of the film is the obedience experiment that was carried out in 1961. Before the experiment, polls were carried out, and senior students thought that 3% of people would give electric shocks. Milgram's colleagues thought that few to strong shocks would be given by poor people because they were more likely to cooperate. And of course, before the experiment, they thought that it was a good way to understand how the Germans behaved under the Nazis' authority. We are also shown the procedure that was used by Milgram and his team. And for each session, there were 3 important individuals. The subject, so who played the role of a teacher, who was the one who inflicted shocks. And of course, this subject was a volunteer. There was one experimenter who was an actor who was in charge of the session, and the volunteer thought that he came for a study about memory and learning, but of course that was not true. And of course the last character was one learner who was an actor who was in an electric chair. So the teacher taught list of word pairs, and the learner had to pair up those word pairs. And when he answered in a wrong manner, fake shocks were given by the teacher with more and more voltage, and of course the learner reacted. And when the teacher wanted to stop, the experimenter asked him to continue. Concerning the results, there was a very high proportion of participants who obeyed the instructions, but every participant went up to 300 volts. 65% of the participants went up to 450 volts, and each of them displayed different degrees of tension and stress. So the psychologist that is related to this concept is the author of this experiment. He was Stanley Milgram. He was an American social psychologist who was born in 1933 and died of a heart attack at the age of 51 years old in 1984. He was a professor at Yale University. This is where he experimented concerning the obedience experiment, and then he moved on to New York to become a professor. In the film, the concept is very well used, and there are some details that I would like to highlight. For example, the director used grey walls to show the austerity of Yale University, okay, and to show the coldness of the university colleagues towards the experiment and towards their colleague Stanley Milgram. There is also an important element. There is a metaphor of an elephant, and because you can see an elephant in the corridor from time to time, and it refers to an expression that is an elephant in the room, which means that there is a problem about a situation that people do not want to talk about. And in this film, Milgram was the narrator, and he told the audience what to think. But as it is a biopic, of course, everything in the film is true. Thank you for listening.